Testing. Mic check 1 2 1 2. All right, here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of American Shade. I'm Brittany King, and today I'm going to be talking about Jordan Peterson. I don't think he needs much of an introduction, but if you don't know who he is, here's a little montage.
Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. Like you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable.
Well, I'm very glad I put you on the spot.
Well,
I'm very glad that I have exercised my freedom of speech.
You get my point. It's like you're doing what you should do, which is digging a bit to see what the hell's going on.
So
and that is what you should do. But you're exercising your freedom of speech to certainly risk offending me. And that's fine. I think more power to you as far as I'm concerned.
So you haven't sat there and I'm just trying to work that out. I mean,
gotcha.
You have got me. I'm trying to work that.
So Jordan Peterson is a clinical psychologist. He might be probably best known for his renowned book, 12 Rules for Life. And he's recently announced that he's coming out with another book, 12 More Rules, Beyond Chaos, I believe, or Beyond Order. That's what it is, Beyond Order. The picture here. For me, I'm going to be talking about 5 things that I have personally learned from Jordan Peterson. These 5 things might not be something that you personally have learned from Jordan Peterson or you find personally important, the most important things that Jordan Peterson can offer. But for me, in my household, I'm kidding. But for me, these are the things that I have learned. And I think with Jordan Peterson, what he offers is a way to objectively look at things without allowing your emotions to kind of get in the way of your logic. Not to say that your emotions aren't valid, but to say that your emotions can be stumbling blocks in the way of like really getting to the root of an idea. So I'm going to start with 5. What I've learned, number 5, I'd say I've learned a rule that he taught, that life is suffering. And I remember him saying this in a lecture. And it really helped me because sometimes in life you think life should be great, life should be grand, life should, more or less words, not be easy, but shouldn't be as hard as it might be. And that if it is hard, that somehow you failed on the way, somehow that you've done something wrong, somehow you're reaping karma or you're a bad person or you've wronged someone, whatever, that the universe is getting back at you and you must find a way to right your wrongs, to get your life back in order for it to be more or less perfect, more or less stressful. And when he said this in a lecture that life is suffering, I was like, and that life is just hard, that life is not something that's easy. You're born in something that's difficult and you need to gain the tools in order to ward off the hard times, make it through so you can really enjoy the good times. And that more or less you're going to have more suffering than you're going to have enjoyment. And I don't know why that clicked with me, because I felt like at a time when I was going through grad school and I was, trying to find a job and all of this stuff, and I had a lot of frustrations in my life, and there was a lot of things going on. I felt like, is this because I deserve this? When will this end? Like, what is going on? Like, what did I do to deserve this? And it's like something that it's not that you're doing something to deserve this. This is actually just life. And that this can be a life lesson to build your endurance to hardships in your life. And that if I can get through this, then when I face something again, I'll have an archival, Rolodex of evidence that, oh, I can get through this because I've been able to get over this hump. And that lecture in particular really helped when he said life is suffering, life is hard, basically get over it. Like you're not special if your life sucks for a moment. Everyone's life sucks for a moment. And sometimes people, their lives always are hard, you know, and that while you are complaining or thinking you have it bad, someone has it 100 times worse than you and would give anything to have your life. So there's a spectrum of suffering. We all suffer. That has helped me with understanding hardships and unfortunate events and circumstances that occur in life. Number 4. I would say number 4 is a very, very important one. And that is, in order to think, you must risk being offensive. And what Jordan meant by that is, in order for you to really get to a quality place, you're one, having dialogue with someone, or like internal dialogue with yourself, or like really getting to the root of an idea or a thought or a belief with someone, without someone, like you have to risk being offensive because you're going to be treading waters that might be unfamiliar to you, or treading waters that might be polarizing to someone else, but you should not stay away from them because they might offend someone. Like you shouldn't, you know, that you should utilize your First Amendment right, freedom of speech, freedom of thought, to its fullest for the betterment of society. Specifically, when you're having a conversation with someone and they might be saying something to you that might be offensive. They might not be meaning to be offensive, but what they're saying just go against maybe what you believe, what you think, etc. That not only do you have to risk being offensive to think, but you have to risk getting offended. Like you have to risk that as well. Like when you consent to a discussion with someone, you're consenting to tension, and you're consenting to the possibility that they might hurt your feelings, but that you shouldn't disengage. If that happens, you should engage even more. Like you should stick with it even more, because you might be at the brink of something. And if you walk away, then not only will you walk away and you could, you know, possibly form enemies with this person or further disconnect from this person, but you might lose that chance of you almost chiseled down to something. But if you just would have stuck it out, something great could have happened. And there's a lot of times after I really have taken in information and, you know, notes and advice from other philosophers, writers of different creeds, descent, colors, backgrounds, specifically on the idea of critical thinking, I've realized that the best discussions I've had with people now are the discussions that got really intense and got really hard and got really heated. But because we both, you know, I don't want to say we had the courage, but in a way, we had that courage to, just stay in it and see where this was going. And be like, okay, that hurt, but oh well, let's keep going. Let's keep journeying on this road. That has helped. So I guess this goes into number 3, nice segue and transition, just the power of conversation. And this is something I actually always talks about, but that a conversation shouldn't be something to win, that it shouldn't be some type of battle that you're fighting and there's a victor and there is, you know, a victim or a loser or whatever. And he made a good point about this. I believe he was talking with this man. His name is David Bet, something like that. The name will be here. Sorry. But he was talking to him about conservatives and liberals. And he said that, and he wasn't saying like Republicans and Democrats. He was just saying like there are people with conservative minds and there's people with liberal minds. And he said that conservatives are, more married to the idea of order, and liberals are more accustomed to openness and taking risk. And he said,
Liberals are higher in openness, that's trait creativity, and lower in conscientiousness, especially orderliness. And that seems to be because they believe, or their let's say their niche is an informational niche. They believe that the free flow of information is worth the risk. So that'd be the free flow of people across borders, the free flow of ideas across borders, the free flow of concepts across categories. They'd rather that the borders were permeable. Now, the conservatives are low in openness and high in conscientiousness, especially orderliness, and they take the opposite tack. They think, well, yeah, there's danger in too much openness. There's danger in borders that are too permeable. Things can change too fast. Entire societies can become destabilized, and everyone can end up not knowing which way is up. And the thing is that both of those attitudes are correct. It depends on the time. Because sometimes sometimes things are changing so fast that everybody's knocked off their feet and things are falling apart. And sometimes things are so rigid that there isn't any new water flowing and everything's ground to a halt. You see that in corporations very often, where they get ossified, and there's no new ideas, and then they collapse. The average Fortune 500 company only lasts, I think now it's only 24 years, and the duration of their occupation of the top Fortune 500 space is getting shorter and shorter every year. You need liberals because now and then the right thing to do is to come up with something new. And you need conservatives because now and then the right thing to do is to do what everybody has always done. And the reason you need political dialogue is so that the liberals and the conservatives can continue to argue about which of those solutions is appropriate right now. And
that's powerful, Jordan.
Both are right, but a discussion needs to be had on when these types of ideologies or ways of going about things need to be implemented. And he said, and that's the point of political discourse, because political discourse allows these two sides to look at an issue and see what is relevant for right now. Like, do we need more order? Do we need more conservative, thinking right now over these matters that we're dealing with? Or do we need a more liberal take on this stuff? Do we need to take more risk? Do we need to be more open with seeing outside the box that we've been in? And he was saying the point is that being a conservative mind or a liberal mind, both are right. There are two ways of looking at things. Instead of a liberal mind and a conservative mind doing this to each other, they can be like rock and flint and be making a fire. And sure, there's tension. Sure, there's this type of like eruption about to happen. But if they stay engaged and keep going even when it's hard, boom, fire. Fire, which is another idea that was only cultivated because these two minds or these two point of views decided we're not going to just settle for something that's going to be wholly conservative, wholly liberal, but there has to be something actually better if we both compromise. Also with me, with the power of conversation, I recently have been having different types of conversations with people, and I've I had a conversation with Benjamin Boyce 2 months ago, I believe. I had a conversation with Megan Murphy. I've had a conversation with different podcasts, different audiences that I never would have reached, people that would never have Googled me. And I purposely have done these conversations with these people because I feel like, one, there is power in talking with someone that you normally wouldn't talk to. I think right now in America, people are so accustomed to saying open, honest conversations, but what they really mean is I'll be open and honest with the side I'm on. Like open, honest conversations with Democrats and Democrats, or Republicans or with Republicans, but not talking on either side, like one person from each party coming together and like actually discussing something. That rarely happens. That needs to happen more. For me, I'm not affiliated with being a Republican or a Democrat. I am an independent. So I guess I am less, you know, scared is not the word. I'm less hesitant to talk to someone that might be more liberal or more Republican, so to speak, because I don't affiliate with any party. So I'm not married to any rules. But I do know that I probably have a more liberal mind when it comes to certain things, but then I have a conservative mind when it comes to other stuff. I don't even try to like really pinpoint what I am in regards to that. I just, because I feel like if I do that, then it's like subconsciously going to get in my mind that I know you're liberal in this stuff. And sometimes I'm not. Maybe I'm more conservative, and maybe I'm more liberal in this. I just allow my mind to get to what it's going to get to. And if that comes out liberal or conservative, so be it. Like, I don't really care. But there is power in having discourse with someone else that you normally wouldn't. And I would say in particular with Megan Murphy and Benjamin Boyce, it wasn't necessarily talking to them that was like this polarizing moment. It was more, I think, their base, seeing someone that formerly led a Black Lives Matter movement talking to them, and that base not being accustomed to maybe seeing someone like me talk to them, if that makes sense. And what I saw in the comments was really positive stuff. I saw people saying like, oh, I had this idea about, Black Lives Matter, or I had this idea about these certain authors, or, Black activists or whatever. And hearing you talk to Benjamin has helped me, not jump ship maybe to thinking just like me, but has helped them understand why I do think the way I think. And I think that's progression. I think to get people to empathize or sympathize with you is the first step for change. And that's happened with me talking to people that are very Republican or that voted for a candidate that I don't agree with, and me really, really talking to them and asking them, why did you vote for this person? But not in a chastising way and not trying to reprimand them, but just as a person to person. I've learned a lot. I won't say like, oh, I agree with you and I'm going to vote for them next time. No, but at least I can understand more that a vote for this particular candidate could be complicated, more complicated than what society's saying about these voters. The foundation of what I've learned is the importance to critically think about things, not emotionally think. And what I mean by critically think is to objectively look at a situation, a person, an incident happening in culture, whether it's social issues ranging from, sexism to racism to objectively look at these things and see what they're really made of. And that has helped me with so many different avenues in my life, because I used to look at things from a very, very narrow minded way, in which I mean, if it didn't line up with who I was in regards to identity, then it was wrong. I guess last, but certainly not least, clean your room. I say this funny because I am a organized, disorganized person, I feel like. Don't let the books fool you. I'm kidding. That was one of his rules in 12 Rules for Life, his book. And it sounds so simple, like clean your room. And a lot of people actually didn't like that. People thought he was being snobby when he said that. But if you read the book, or at least if you read like that section and what he meant literally, yes, clean your room. Have your room in order for various reasons. And I'll go through some of them. One, when you wake up and you have a clean room, you feel fresher, you feel less chaotic. It's a calmness. Two, if you're able to effectively clean your room and get things in order, that takes time. It isn't like, yeah, clean your room. It doesn't mean like stash things away so it looks clean. He means like actually clean it and organize. And it does take time to make your room, one, functional, and two, beautiful. Something that you want to be in. Something that everything has its place. And why he said clean your room, it means check yourself. Like before you judge someone else on their life, is your room clean? And it doesn't mean that like, and it's not like a literal, is your room clean? It's like a figurative, are you perfect? Are you completely spotless? Like, do you not have any flaws in yourself? Like you're judging this person so harsh, as if you have not made a mistake, or as if you are on this pedestal. And it's even worse if I go to your house and your room's a pigsty and you're unorganized, but you then want to organize a national movement to save the world, but you can't even fold your clothes up and put them in the dresser, or you can't even organize your closet right. But you want to go out there and change the world when you really need to be first starting with yourself, like internally starting with yourself and getting yourself in order before you try to get the world in order. I think that is the most important rule I've learned. One of the most. Critical thinking and clean your room. There are times where I literally will, and we're human, so I will be on Twitter, or I'll be social media, or even just in the world, and I will be thinking in my mind, like, wow, that person's like, what's up with them, or that person doesn't know this or this or this. And I promise you, in my mind, I'm thinking, clean your room. And I'm not thinking, oh, I got to go home and clean my room. I'm really thinking, you're not perfect. Like, give some grace here. And that just clicks in my mind, because it means more than clean your room. It means it's like a good check. Like, just check yourself before you wreck yourself. No kidding. So those are the 5 things that I've learned from Jordan Peterson. Obviously, there's more, but just to condense it down, that is 5 important things I've learned from him. And I'm glad that he is coming out with his book in March next year. I am glad that he is doing videos every now and again, popping up on YouTube. And I hope he just gets healthy. And it's very controversial, I know, and it's probably confusing for a lot of people to see. Maybe not a lot of people watch this. I don't know. I don't want to assume, but I'm going to make a general statement. I believe people would be confused with seeing a Black woman who also, I'm a journalist, but I do consider myself a Black activist in a way where my journalism is a way I do Black activism for my community in amplifying the idea of us having more heterodox thinking and more individualism within our community. And the fact that I know I'm going against the grain when I even say that, but that I love my community so much that I realized the way I used to think was really stifling my progression with life, period. And certain voices that I used to shun, one being Thomas Sowell or, you know, John McWhorter, Shelby Steele, Jason Daly, things like that. I have really appreciated those voices. Not to say like I'm a 100% stand for them, but they have offered up a lot of things that we do need to listen to. And in my other videos, I do talk about that I was a student who studied under Ta-Nehisi Coates at NYU. And I do really love Ta-Nehisi Coates. And the fact that I can still like Coates and like, you know, a Thomas Sowell, like I can like James Baldwin and still like, you know, Coleman Hughes. Like I can like all of these different voices. I don't have to choose. And that is what I want to show. Not, and I'm not saying I'm like the first one to take the bullet. There's been so many other voices doing this. I'm just participating in within that gamut of voices. But to really champion and amplify the notion that my community does not have to think small. We can think as large as we want, and that heterodoxy is our friend and shouldn't be an enemy. And if someone thinks differently than us in our community, that shouldn't divide us. That should actually just show how diverse we are and how we aren't a monolith, and how much we say we're not a monolith. We should really embrace these voices. So anyway, that's another video. Thank you for watching this video. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.